Hi, everybody. This is Zen Honeycutt of Moms Across America, and I'm back in the United States after a 9-city unstoppable book tour in Japan, sponsored by Green Co-op and with the coordination of many groups like Sade Sieves Japan, Detox Project Japan, and Moms Across Japan. And just in Hokkaido alone, there were 17 other organizations that worked together to make this book tour happen. So it was fantastic. There were many groups that worked together and coordinated and had people come from all across different areas. Every venue was sold out and packed, and it was fantastic. So that we had audiences of between 200 and 500 in every location, and people really signed up to take action this time. It was very, very excited. So we have a few people on the call with us that I'll have introduce themselves. But before I do that, I want to state our mission again. Our mission is to educate and empower mothers and others with actions and solutions to create healthy communities. And that means not just here in America, but around the world. And this is because we have a global food supply, and of course, because we care about people around the world. I realized when my children got healthy, when they went organic and avoided GMOs and glyphosate, that their future spouses are out in the world somewhere. So it wasn't enough for my family to eat organic because I wanted them to be able to have healthy spouses someday. And if they wanted to have a family, whether they adopted or created on their own, that family would be healthy and happy and live a long time, right? So we all care about that. And so this is a global community issue. And so tonight I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on what happened in Japan. And of course, I'd like to hear any questions from you if you have any questions. And also any updates on what's happening locally in your area. And I'm so happy that we have a special guest on with us today. I'm going to finish up with him and have the others introduce yourselves first, and then have our special guest from Japan give us any updates on what happened this weekend, because there was a special convention if you'd like to talk about that. But first, let's have our local U.S. Dad and health coach on. Max, would you like to say hello?
Hello, welcome from Bushkill, Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Max, for being on. I appreciate your time.
Nice to be here.
Great. And Maurice, would you like to say where you're from?
Yeah, hi. I'm from Montreal, Quebec in Canada, and I'm glad to join the call tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you for being on.
Organics. We food.
Go ahead. Say that again.
Oh, sorry, a bit of a delay. I was just going to say I'm from Organics. We sell organic food, and we're up in Canada. That's all.
Great. And thank you very much for being on the call with us from Canada. And we also have Carla. Carla, can you say where you're from?
Oh, hi, everyone. Welcome back, Zen. I'm from Queensland, Australia.
Great. Thank you so much.
Back.
Thank you for being on this. Go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, looking forward to hearing all about your trip.
Great. And thank you for being on from Australia. And everybody, please do check out Lady Carla Davis's Masters of Health magazine. This month, they featured Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the Person of the Year. And I was honored, very honored, to write an article to acknowledge him. And I think the entire magazine is well worth reading and is very well put together. So thank you, Lady Carla, for being on.
And thank you. We loved your letter. It was great. And I'd like to also tell them to look at the November issue too, where we featured you and Moms Across America.
Thank you so much. Yes, you did a great job putting a lot of work into that magazine. And it's the only online magazine that also includes video and just a lot of pictures, and is really nicely put together. So thank you, Carla, once again.
Thank you. Yes, it's the world's only natural health multimedia magazine.
Great. Really great. Good job putting that together.
Thank you.
And Inyaku-san, Inyaku Tomoya from Japan, from Tokyo, is on with us today. Hi, Inyaku.
Hi, my name is Inyaku, and I'm following the Moms Across America since 2013.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Inyaku is the one who connected me with, or had me connected with Ueda from Alter Trade Group Japan and Katioka-san from Green Co-op. And so he's really the reason why I was able to go to Japan in the first place. So thank you so much, Inyaku.
You're welcome.
Yeah, really, really great. So we were so thrilled to be there. And do you want to say a little bit about what happened this past weekend in Japan?
Yes, yeah, it's really amazing. This is first time in Japan to have such a tour about food issue, and enthusiasm of all all through Japan. It's really fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work.
Oh, thank you very much. And you had a conference this past weekend around the seed laws. Can you talk about that a little bit? Maybe strategically, you don't want to say too much, but can you say a little bit about just it happening? Who came together?
Yes, we are fighting against the bill because the Japanese government 2 years ago, the government abolished Seed Act. And then next year, the government is going to revise the Plant Variety Act, to prohibit farmers to save seeds. So, Monsanto or Sumitomo, they can monopolize seeds.
Monopolize.
Yeah,
Yes.
monopolize, yeah.
Yeah. So my understanding, just so people understand the gravity of the situation, is that in Japan, they used to have laws in which the government provided, they basically funded farmers to grow seeds for each local community. And so the farmers didn't have to focus on, so it's very expensive for them to grow seeds just for seeds, right? So they could get their seeds locally at a reduced price. I don't know if it was free or not, but at a reduced price basically from the government. And those were local seeds. And so 2 years ago, when Trump went to visit Abe, Abe, of course, got rid of that. So now they're reducing the funding on the local seeds distribution, and they opened up the market to private companies like Monsanto and Bayer and Dow and DuPont and Syngenta. And so pretty soon the funding for those local seeds, which are their traditional heirloom seeds, will completely go away. And within 5 or 10 years, the only seeds that the Japanese people will be able to get will be from these private companies. And of course, the Plant Variety Act means that the seeds that they purchase, they cannot save them, right? They have to buy again from that seed company every year.
Yes.
So basically, the Japanese government is aiding and abetting a corporate takeover of the seed supply in Japan. Yeah. Would you say that's accurate,
Yes.
Inyaku?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're doing to Japan what they did to U.S. farmers in the Midwest 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
That's what they did to U.S. farmers. They made it pretty much impossible for Midwest farmers to be able to source non-GMO seeds, because some of them, they would go to their local, seed, the local supply place where they would buy seeds, and there would only be GMO there. And then, of course, then they would have to buy the pesticides that came with that. And they went so far as to make sure that when the farmers went to get loans for their farm, whether it was to buy seeds or to buy a new tractor, that bank had been influenced so much by the corporations that they would only give loans if that farmer was using GMO seeds with pesticides, because what they were thinking was like, this is insurance. Like, the only seeds that really work are the GMO seeds with these pesticides. If I won't give a loan to a farmer unless he's using them, because there's too much risk otherwise. You see what I'm saying? They were brainwashed to believe that the only seeds that would work, that would withstand pests or drift of herbicides, would be the seeds that were from Monsanto. So they would only give loans to farms that use those seeds. So they were pretty much locked in and felt forced to use those seeds and those herbicides. Yeah. So be careful of your financial institutions.
Yes, That's right. Yeah. Yes.
in Japan.
Mhm.
So for the first time, however, what happened this weekend? How many groups got together to discuss the seed laws?
I think about 40 of, I don't know exact number, but from, a very far place, from Kyushu and from Hokkaido. It's really
Nice.
remote place. So it was really, yeah, actually, it was very good.
Really good. Okay, so with every breakdown, with every crisis, the Chinese symbol for crisis is danger and opportunity.
Yes, yes.
So with every crisis, what Japan is facing right now is a crisis of seed law, right? Protection of the local seeds.
Mhm.
But with that, because the government has struck down this federal law, that means that the local prefectures can now establish their own laws.
Yes.
So 40 of these prefectures got together, which really is historic.
Mhm.
And you're thinking as an outcome partially of my tour, right? Of groups coming
Yes.
together.
Mhm.
Yeah. And of course, Yamada-san's work, who's the former Minister of Agriculture for many, many years. So all these groups got together
Mhm.
and they are now working on creating local seed laws, which will protect their local seeds.
Mhm. Right.
Wow. Well, that's really great. We hope for a really, of course, beneficial outcome, and hope that they can protect their local seeds and their heirloom and their soil and their water supply. Because if you look at what's happened in the Midwest, it's devastating right here in America, right? You can just see our Gulf of Mexico is an enormous dead zone.
Mhm.
And that's what will happen around the coasts of Japan, right? If
Yes.
pesticides and herbicides are going into your waterways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have a newcomer, Pat Smith. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Pat Smith from El Paso, Texas, and I'm
Great.
interested in everything that we have to do to support our environment, our children, and our families.
Great. Thank you, Pat. Are you a mom too or auntie?
Grandmother.
What's
A
that?
grandma- A
Your
grandma.
grandma. Great. Well, thank you for being on. We appreciate it so much. So, okay, so I'm going to give you just a little bit of, first of all, why Japan was so important and why I spent 2 weeks there. This is my third trip. We've been developing a relationship with people in Japan for 4 years now, and this is my third trip there. And the reason why we've been doing this is not just because the Japanese people are gracious and amazing, and they have influence over the food supply, but because their influence is enormous. They own the largest grain distribution center in the world, and it's near New Orleans in the U.S. And they own about 85 different, I think they're sort of like small granaries along the coasts of the Mississippi River. And they have barges that go back and forth every day to this large grain distribution center. And it's about 300 million pounds, or could be tons. I have to look at those numbers again, every year. And 60,000 tons, I believe, a month leave that distribution center. And only 6% of that is non-GMO. So 94% is GMO. And we really, they have an opportunity to impact that, right? To have those seeds be either non-GMO or, better yet, regenerative organic, right? Because if Japan said, let's just say they gave notice to the farmers, within 2 to 3 years, they will only accept regenerative organic grains, which they could do, that gives the farmers time to transition over, then those farms would need to transition. And if they wanted to sell their seeds, right, through this distribution center, and that would mean that the soil would be being regenerated, the water would be cleaner, the air would be cleaner, our rain would be cleaner, and of course the grains distributed to Japan, China, Korea, Taiwan, and even in Europe would be absent of toxic chemicals and GMOs. So the animals eating those grains would be healthier, and the soils around all across America would be sequestering carbon, and that sequestering that carbon would mean reversing climate change for people around the world. So that is my intention. And I hope over time, and as soon as possible, the Japanese government will see how important this is and how important their role is. And it's a huge start for the local people of Japan to protect their seeds, because if there's no buyers for those GMO seeds, then, right, the government can't import them. They're just, I doubt they're going to import seeds just to pile up at the stockyards, right? That's not going to work for them. So, so making sure that there's no buyers for those seeds and protecting their local heirloom seeds is extremely important. So that's why I went to Japan. Also, it's a wonderful learning relationship on both sides, because Green Co-op that invited me has 400,000 members. They have a very different food supply system there, because back in the 80s, there was, I think, was it lead in Yakusan that they found in the milk or in the baby formula? There was some big crisis in the food supply, right?
And sorry, yes. We don't have non-GMO baby formula.
Right, but back in the 80s, there was some crisis that sort of sparked all of these co-ops to start. Was it lead, or was it something else that was found in the milk or the baby formula? Do you remember?
80s?
Back in the 80s, yeah, back in the 1980s. Do you remember what that was?
I don't know. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so it was from what I was told from Green Co-op members is that maybe it was just more local for them. But back in the 80s, there was some lead or something found in either the milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have toxic baby formula. So the mom's movement started, with that accident.
Okay. And it was toxic, yeah, baby formula. And so they didn't trust the big grocery stores anymore. Mm-hmm. So they started to get together and say, how can we get safe food? And they started to create co-ops. And the Green Co-op, even though it's headed up by some men, the entire board is moms, and the moms make their own decisions. And they also manage the budget and all of that stuff now. So they made decisions to create this co-op. And they have 400,000 members now, just the Green Co-op. There's other co-ops like this one's PAL system, and they have catalogs, and they also have these online. And on these catalogs, they have vegetables and fruits and all kinds of things, and they also have meat. And you can see here that in the catalog they can say non-GMO. You see that for the meat? Right there, it says non-GMO, and they can do that in the catalog, or it says GMO free, right? But it says GMO, and then they can do that in the catalog, but they can't do it on the package of the food. So in grocery stores, you can't see that this animal was fed non-GMO grains, but in the catalog, because it's their print material, right, and online, you can see that. So it's really important to be a part of a co-op, because otherwise you wouldn't know what the animals were fed. And so some co-ops have 1 million people, like PAL System, and Green Co-op has 400,000. Other co-ops have 100,000. And so these co-ops are formed around food, but they also do some other really wonderful things that I got to see when I went to Japan, and they gave me tours last year and the year before. And that was, for instance, with the profits of the selling of the food, which is discounted from the regular grocery stores. But with the profits that they get, the community and the board can decide what to do with that money. And so they do things like help a homeless shelter to have a garden and to have some organic food and, at least organic vegetables and everything, and non-GMO fed meat. They also help daycares and preschools to have organic food. And they also have a recycling center. So when these mostly moms have these little green trucks that they drive around with, and they deliver the food to the houses, they can take a bag of old clothes and bring them to the recycling center. So they realize that they have a network, right? They can go and drop things off, and they can pick things up. And so now they have a recycling center, and from that recycling center, the sales of those clothes and old bags and things like that goes towards educating 3,000 kids in Pakistan. So they have, charity acts that they do as a community because they've come together through food. And it's really amazing. It's such an amazing learning experience to go there and see all of the wonderful things that they are doing as a board. Also, you should know that the pay system there is very different. And like Green Co-op has stated that they still maintain the traditional pay system, which is based on age. So the oldest people at Green Co-op make the most money, and the younger people make the least money, except if they have children, then they get bonuses. It's like 5,000 yen or whatever per child. You get a little bit extra money when you get a bonus. You get a bonus for being a manager, but it's not tons of money. So there are many people at Green Co-op that are like the CEO has people under him who get paid more than he does. So it's not like traditional corporations where the CEO makes tens of millions of dollars and the people under them make, right, like 100 times less. It's a very even way of having people work together and share in the profits of the company, but in a very much more balanced way, I guess you would say. So that way also there are funds left over, right? The top person doesn't just get tons of money. So they're able to use the money for things like helping the mothers, and also, of course, like paying for things like this book tour. So they made up these great little flyers. Here's me with my kids, these little cartoons, they're very cute. And they had all kinds of flyers, and they put these out. Here I am from last year, one of the tours. And people came up to me and shared all kinds of stories with me at the end of my talks. I had, in some places I had about an hour and a half, some places a little bit longer, shorter, but with translation, the amount of time I had to talk was about half that amount of time, right? So I had to cut it down. But people would come up to me afterwards, and there was a woman here, she gave me a letter, and she also told me her story about how she's had chemical sensitivity for many years, and her child was also allergic to something, and she figured it out that it was potato starch, and that a lot of potatoes in Japan, and the potato starch is GMO. And so once she started using potato starch from organically grown potatoes, her daughter's allergic symptoms completely disappeared. And when she started buying organic for her daughter, then her own fibromyalgia issues also went away, right? And her chemical sensitivity issues completely went away. So she is really happy, that I came, and she wants to tell more people about chronic fatigue syndrome, right? And chemical sensitivity, how it can be impacted by the food supply, and how important it is. And I had another woman come up to me and say that she was chemically sensitive also, and that she was considering committing suicide. And after my talk, she realizes now that it's time for her to take action and educate other people. And it just brought tears to our eyes. It was just a really amazing moment. And I wish that all of you who support Moms Across America could have seen the look in her face, because your support, with your $10, your $20, you're sharing our emails, signing our petitions, getting the news out in social media, that all makes a difference. Because if you were not doing that, then the people in Japan would not know about us. They wouldn't have invited me there. We wouldn't have been able to share this information. So I really want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart, right, for all of your support, no matter big or small, because it makes such a huge difference to people around the world. And yes, and Yanku's saying that he doesn't have exact numbers of people in Tokyo, but it was about 420 people in Tokyo, and it was on a work day during the daytime. So that was very rare to have that many people show up. And Katioka-san at the end of the tour said the numbers came in, it was about 2,300 people that I was able to speak in front of. And so in each one of those people has a network, of 500 or 1,000 people or whatever. So they will be sharing it, the information with a lot of people. And it was really, really moving. I had moms come up with children who've gotten better, with husbands that have gotten better, all kinds of people that are going to work hard on it. And my primary goal of my talk, and I made it very clear in the beginning, was not just to educate them, but I was going to let every single person know why they needed to become an activist and why they need to take action now. So we got a stack back in Green Co-op of probably almost every single one of the 500 people at that meeting gave back a form with their name and what areas they're going to work on. So people are going to be taking action and coordinating and working together. And it's so exciting that was the outcome of this, that people are actually taking action. And they even had the conference the day I left. Like, they didn't waste any time. You know, the seed conference was coordinated within those 2 weeks, and everybody got together and they're working on the seed laws. So that this is as Inyaku's saying, that's the most important thing, that participants are excited to do something about it. And so I really feel like my time was well spent there. And that even though if my participation in some things here at Moms Across America waned, you know, I wasn't able to do these Moms Connect calls and some other projects that were, you know, where the ball's rolling, it's kind of stopped rolling so much. I think that's okay, because we really do need to work together as it's a global food issue, you know, so we really do need to work together. There's a video that's come out soon of from Kawada-san, and he is a young man that was injured when he was 19 years old because he had hemophilia, and he got a blood transfusion product from the United States, and that product was actually infected with AIDS, HIV, and the US knew it. There was evidence that the US knew it, and they sent those blood transfusion products over to Japan anyway, and 2,000 people in Japan were infected with HIV. And so he considered committing suicide, but he did not. And instead he took action and rallied 3,000 people to go to the Diet, which is considered the parliament there. And they got a law passed, which would make sure that any products that were imported into Japan would have to be deemed safe, right? That there would be safety testing done on them. They wouldn't just take the word of the country that they were coming from and deem them safe. So last year I met with this man and his wife, his wife is an author and sells a lot of books. And he said, I want to do that for GMOs and pesticides, right? Like, I want to make sure that the things that are coming into our country are safe. We don't just take the word of another country. I said, that's a great idea. And you have a precedence for it. You've already done that with medical products. And so he did it. And on December 2nd, I was able to be at the inauguration of the Japan Food Safety League that he headed up. He's the head of the oversight committee. So he's also the head of now this Food Safety League. And so he's going to be putting out a video. I just saw the draft today, and we'll be putting out a press release about this because I think that's a wonderful idea. Don't you guys think we should have a food safety committee in the US? Yes. I think that's a great idea. So we'll be putting out a press release about that. And we're just so inspired by Kawada-san, you know, saying he was going to do something and doing it and taking action and seeing it all the way through and rallying other parliament members to be on this committee. Now, there's not enough parliament members. We need more. So his video is a call to action for other parliament members to join into the committee. So we totally understand that you need to have, you know, the strength in numbers. But we also here in the US need to have people looking at the food supply. And I think that there are some politicians that might actually be willing to do that. The ones that stood up for GMO labeling, right? There were some from Washington and Maine and Connecticut that might actually be willing to do something like that. So we need to speak up to our representatives and senators and let them know how important it is to me that somebody is focusing on the food supply, because all of this debate that's going on about the healthcare doesn't do anything if they're not going to be talking about what's causing people to get sick in the first place, right? I mean, we don't have endless amounts of money to pay for healthcare, and we won't have workers and people to do the jobs. If you create jobs, it's great, create jobs, but if there's nobody to do them because they're all sick, then it's not going to make a difference. So we need people to actually be looking at the safety of the food supply, and clearly the FDA and the EPA are not doing their jobs. So yeah, so let's see what else. I have other things, but do you guys have any questions about what's going on in Japan? Yeah, Max.
Well, not about what's going on in Japan, but
Oh, okay.
I saw an excellent interview by Stephanie Seneff with a cautionary tale about the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15.
Mm.
And it seems, according to her, I didn't double check it, that corn is on the Clean 15 list. So apparently the government does not examine or consider glyphosate as a contaminant that would keep it off of the Clean 15 list.
Well, it's the EWG, the Environmental Working Group. Yeah,
Okay.
that's their list, and they're not considering glyphosate. Yeah, so we've had a problem with that. And some of our moms at Moms Across America have actually been bugging them about this for 5 years. So we're not exactly on their favorite people list because some of us have been very vocal about this. And the problem with sweet corn being on the Clean 15 list is that although the tests for glyphosate have been kind of low because corn has a husk, right, and protects the corn. So when you test the corn kernels, it can be low in glyphosate. It could be, right? It's not always, but it could be low in glyphosate. The problem is that there are 12 varieties of GMO sweet corn just from Syngenta alone. So there's no way that sweet corn could be on a Clean 15 list if you're considering GMOs and the toxins that can be in GMOs. It just doesn't make any sense, right? It would have to be specified to be organic sweet corn, right? Or non-GMO and organic sweet corn. It really would be, but they refuse to do that. So we have a big problem with that. Yeah. So, but I'll look for that. Was that Stephanie's interview recent?
Yes, it was just, in fact, I think today is the end of it. There's a fatty liver summit going on right now. And I think this weekend is the review where the whole thing is available. And Stephanie Seneff interview was on the last day. And then after, it was like 7 days. So it was the seventh day. And then they had a day on the kidney health and another day on something else. But her interview, you could probably catch it before midnight tonight on the fatty liver. Let me see if I'll get the contact information.
Okay. Yeah, if you can put that in the chat box, that would be great.
Okay.
I can see Marie May is grocery
Hi.
shopping.
Sorry, I'm
Hi.
just grocery shopping here, looking for organic produce in the store that has not much. I'm just wondering, when you talked about the seeds in Japan, which seeds specifically are you referring to? Is it wheat or is there also rice and other seeds?
And Yaku-san, do you know which seeds, or is it all seeds?
So I'm sorry, I was out. Can you repeat again?
Yeah,
So
I was
which
wondering
seeds?
which seeds you're referring to.
The-
Is it wheat or is there rice or other seeds? When they're talking about both the seed saving and then also the seed distribution centers, is it various seeds or rice or wheat?
2 years ago, Japanese government abolished a seed act. This seed is only for rice, soy, and wheat.
Okay.
But now, next year, the government is going to revise plant variety laws. This covers everything.
Wow. Yeah, it's really important to take action, I guess.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
So we had somebody join us, Roland Schaefer. Do you want to say who you are, where you're from?
Sure, I'm from Nebraska.
Nebraska?
And yeah,
Great.
I'm a big supporter of you for several years.
Thank you.
You send me a lot of brochures and I get them out. I'm like in the middle of a cornfield out here. And got a lot of people that don't want to change from the way they're doing things. And I'm like the only one.
Oh.
So it's a little tough, but I don't care because I have kids, and that's why everybody needs to wake up. I always tell people that, well, if we do it for the love of our children, we'll make this happen. So I support you, and I was just thinking, the first time I saw your face, I thought, you're a leader. You have a lot of fire in your eyes, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you, Roland. That warms my heart. I really appreciate it. And, you know, I know it's not easy. We don't have a whole lot of supporters in Nebraska and North Dakota, South Dakota, you know, in the Midwest. And it's because it's mostly the farming community. And it's very difficult, I think, to be the only one. But here's the thing. The opportunity is tremendous. I would rather be in a room where I'm the only one that knows about what's going on than be in a room where everybody knows about what's going on, right? Because that means there's an opportunity for me to make a difference. So
yeah, and what I like too is that people are starting to wake up. You know, I learned a while back about the tipping point. You know, that how critical that is, and how it's actually a law of nature. I don't know if you know this story about people were trying to figure out why a herd of deer chose to drink out of one of 5 ponds surrounding their area. So they set up cameras and they filmed them for quite some time. And what they determined was it wasn't the matriarch, it wasn't the dominant male, it wasn't any of those guys. They weren't even involved. What it was when a majority of the deer looked in a certain direction, they all knew it was time to go, and they got up. Even ones that weren't looking that way knew that it was time to go. And you see that in animals and birds. Well, we're no different. We're the same. And they use that tipping point law to, well, they do it through mass media. You know that. That's how they get the majority of people to send their energy in a certain direction. And when we grasp the power of that and realize that they've been doing that to us, that's when we have real power. And so that's,
so you mean
that's exciting.
When the deer picked up its head and looked in the direction of a certain pond, then another one would look and another one would look, and then pretty soon they would all be walking towards that pond to take a drink out of that pond?
You know, why they did it is undetermined. It was just when that happened. And you've heard of the 100th monkey, haven't you?
I'm not sure. No.
Google it.
Okay.
And see what it says. It's under the same kind of, I don't know what, energy. I go back to energy because that's what it is. You know, I wrote something down the other day and it goes like this. Intention awakens attention.
Yes.
Where attention goes, energy flows.
Yes.
And where energy flows, everything grows. Well, like Tesla talked about thinking energy, frequency, and vibration, and I've been doing that for several years. I actually lay on the ground in the sun. I made that a habit several years ago. I did it for health reasons to start with. I knew we needed vitamin D, and we're not in the sun. You know, we put clothes on, we're in buildings, we're in cars. The sun is life-giving light. Everything strives to get the sun. I mean, look at the plants. They face the sun. They compete to get the sun. It's a life-giving light. If you take anything out of the sun, it wilts and dies. And we're no different. And we get 5% of the sun on our face and the back of our hands, and we cover ourselves. Well, it's important to get in the sun and get that vitamin D. It's just, I started doing that years ago, but what happened was something I didn't expect was when I would lay on the ground, and I'm sure it's similar to meditation, when you stop and shut down, it's like your mind and our society is constantly making you think and do, and nothing can get in until you stop and actually get the frequency of the earth, which is a balanced frequency. And then I call them gifts. I have things that come into my mind like that thing that I just quoted, like intention awakens attention. Where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, everything grows. Well, when we grasp that, it's all about attention. You know, it's
Did that
funny
come
when you
from
think
you, or
about
did you
it.
get that from somebody else?
No, like that came from me. It was a gift that I got from laying on the
Wow.
ground. And there's
Wow.
more. There's several more. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It just comes in. I call them gifts, but it's
Yes.
only because I shut my mind off and I'm just laying on the earth in the sun. It charges your body. It takes away aches and pains. I'm 62 years old and I've lived a hard, aggressive life and I wasn't that great on my body. So when I have pains in my back or anywhere, I'll lay on the ground and they're gone within, you've got to lay there at least about an hour because it just takes that long to get man's frequency down to the earth's frequency. And you know that you can measure the hertz of your body compared to the hertz of the earth. Well, we're insulated from it. We're at a higher frequency, and that's probably by design. I mean, by control. They want to sped up. They don't want you laying on the ground and being instead of doing. They want you hurry up, pay your taxes, and get going. So that's where things come to me like that. And it was like, but I want to really talk, if you don't mind me just going on here.
Well, hang on one second. I just want you to say that part again. Where intention goes, say those three things again.
Energy flows.
Okay. What?
Say it again. Say that where intention thing. Say those three parts again.
Okay. Intention awakens attention. We can go slow here. My son actually helped me. My son actually helped me with the intention
No, don't
part.
explain it. Just say it.
Okay. All right. Intention awakens attention.
Okay.
Where attention goes, energy flows. If you give someone your attention, whether it's mental or you get up and physically do it,
yeah. Don't explain it. Just say it. It's okay.
Then where energy flows, or where energy goes, everything grows. Where energy flows, everything grows.
Okay.
Everything grows. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad or whatever. It's going to grow.
That's really great. Can I quote you on that?
Sure.
Okay. Intention awakens attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. Where energy flows and everything grows.
Flows.
Okay.
Right.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Yeah, and this is sort of the same thing that I said to one woman who came up and said she wanted to commit suicide, but now she's going to take action. And I said to her that the people who are the most affected are the most effective in communicating the cause, right? And the issue, what needs to happen. And that's why somebody who is, either wants to commit suicide or has faced the loss of a loved one, the fear of losing a loved one, like me, I saw my son almost die in front of my eyes. There is no greater fear, right? So Monsanto cannot scare me, Dow, DuPont, none of them scare me because I have faced my greatest fear, which is my son almost dying in front of my eyes. So I can be very effective at this because I've been so affected, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're sending your attention to it too. And that's what we need to do is get the tipping point of people to send their attention to this.
Yes.
And you're doing a great job. That's why we send our energy out. It's what we focus on, our attention is getting to it. If you give it your attention, that's where the energy is going to go, and we'll get to that tipping point. And we're close. I can feel it, and I bet you can too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if everybody saw, but there's an article out this week, posted it on, I'm pretty sure it's posted on our Facebook page. It's from an agriculture magazine, and it said we are in the post-chemical era. So they know that consumers do not want it, and they're moving to new alternatives, and they've invested, it was even last year, the year before, billions of dollars. The only problem is that now they are patenting and, genetically engineering and patenting microbes and fungus, right? So that they're coating the seeds with these microbes and these fungus, which already resist the pests and the weeds. The problem is that they're patenting life, right? So we don't like the alternative, but we are very happy that they acknowledge that we are now entering this post-chemical era. So yeah, it is happening. And I think that 2020 really should be a year where we focus on solutions, because if our attention is on solutions, and like we should move away from being, you know, the against Monsanto stuff. Like Monsanto is done, like, right, they're done. That Bayer owns them now. If we focus anything on that, it should be for Bayer to retire Roundup, right? And we just, you know, new alternatives, new solutions, and focus on the solutions. And
you know, one of the gifts that, yes, I agree with you 100%. One of the gifts that came to me was recently was that you can recognize evil because it deals with death and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard that probably, haven't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's even in the Bible where evil is death, you know, is death and destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, what do herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, suicides all have in common?
Yeah, it's all sides, all death and destruction. Yep.
Death. It's death. You can't deny it. The first word out of your mouth is death.
Mm-hmm.
So that, when you realize that it deals in death and destruction, and I've heard it that way, it deals in it. It doesn't say evil is death and destruction. It deals in it. So a deal means you're buying, you're bartering, you're giving your energy for this product that kills, and you take it home and you do what with it?
Yeah, death and destruction.
You kill.
Yeah.
You kill. You're doing the work of evil. You've just been deceived.
Yeah. Well, something that you say that is important is giving your energy to. So we want to make sure that we're not giving our energy to that death and destruction by focusing so much on it too. So
Right.
there are
exactly.
times when
We've got
people
to
ask,
recognize.
what?
We've got to recognize it. People don't even know what evil is. You know, we're so mixed up in this world of chaos that people couldn't tell you what evil is.
Yeah, I
gives you
understand
a
that, but
point.
we're not the organization that is going to focus on evil, because then we're just giving
I
more
understand.
attention to evil. You know, we're
I
not
understand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Max wants to say something. Yeah.
I put the link up for the Stephanie Seneff interview. It's on for like another 3 hours. If anybody gets a chance to watch it, it's the link with the number 7 in it, and it's the second video down on the page. And it's a 1 hour interview, and it's loaded with unbelievable content.
Wonderful. I will watch that. Thank you so much. I'll watch that while I'm making dinner or something. Stephanie Seneff is a wonderful speaker. And this stop fatty liver disease issue is so important. I don't know if you guys know, but 1 out of 8 people in America now have liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So that means if there were 2 more people on this call, one of us would probably have some type of liver disease, right? Like that is really what's happening. And
it means that one of us probably does anyway.
One of us probably does anyway. Yeah. And so, and it's young children as young as 8 years old too now are getting it. So thank you, Inyaku. Was there anything you need to say before you leave?
Who were you asking?
Inyaku-san, I guess he has to leave, but maybe he's already muted.
I'm sorry. I cannot find words to thank Jen-san's great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Inyaku-san. I have no words to thank you either. You know, the working together with you is wonderful. I appreciate he's answered so many emails that I have questions, and we're going to continue to work together. And don't ever give up, okay, Inyaku-san?
Okay.
Okay, great. Keep going.
Thank you. Bye.
Akirimenai.
Akiramenai. Okay. Great.
Yeah, ganbatte. Okay, thank you. So I learned when I was there, ganbatte means we will not stop, and akirimenai means we will not give up. And so basically the translation of my book, Unstoppable, is akirimenai. We will not give up. So it's very, very exciting work that's happening in Japan. I want to thank everybody. It says be a 45-minute call because I know I was just hanging up Christmas lights. I don't know about you, but we've got stuff going on for the holidays. We will not have a call next week because it's, of course, the day before Christmas Eve, and probably not the week after either because it's the week before New Year's. But if there's anything major that happens, which, you know, there may be, our government does not stop doing stupid things, unfortunately. So we may need to do some Facebook Lives or whatever. but we will be focusing a lot the coming year on solutions and having people take action. We will be learning from other countries the wonderful things that they are doing and looking at how we can implement them here. And in my parting closing, what I want to say is the one thing I brought back from Japan is this incredible sense of community. They really do think of the group, right? What is good for society? I mean, like for instance, when they get in line for buses, it's not just this big, massive blob of people that rush towards the bus. They have these wonderful little lines and people just get in line, and it's orderly and coordinated and sane and peaceful. And people there in general are pretty darn happy. Like, they're very cordial and courteous, and the manners are wonderful, and their art, the food is like art. Like, they really think of other people and their presentation and gratitude and humility. And I'd like to bring more of that community feeling into Moms Across America's work and what we do. And just remember, this holiday season, you have an opportunity to get to know your neighbors, to bring them, you know, some organic muffins or some organic, I don't know, jam or juice or something, and connect with them. Because when it comes down to it, when the power goes out, which is going to happen more and more because of climate change, the only people that we will be able to connect with is unfortunately not online like this. It's going to be your next door neighbors. And so you may need to depend on them for survival, or they may need to depend on you for survival. So it's, and not just from a scarcity survival scenario, it really is wonderful to get to know your neighbors. And so you have an opportunity this holiday season to connect with them and to, you know, bring them an organic gift, explain to them why it's organic, and, you know, invite them over or just go visit them. And so that's my charge to everybody, is to get to know your community this holiday season and really enjoy each other and your family. Okay? Great.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you. Thank you, Jen. So inspiring.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all of your support and connection. And please do send us any good news that you have anytime, okay? And we'll get it out there.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy
Thanks.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you
Happy
very much, Pat, and
holidays.
Carla, Maurice, and Roland, and Max, and Iyaki-san. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for taking your time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good job. And for your